All right, here we go.
The following is available in high definition.
Rolling holds and turns. Oh my goodness! Are you kidding me?
This is Sports Center.
Tigers shocker. Woods takes an indefinite lead from golf. Plus, the Road Warrior Oilers aim for their season-best 5th straight win in St. Louis. Surging on the road, but just average at home, the Flames face the Wild at the Saddle Dome. After getting destroyed by 31 points last week, the Raptors look for sweet revenge at home against the surging Hawks. And it's one of the strangest things you'll ever see in a top 10.
Anybody else want to put their TV against the Saints? Bring it on!
We've got all the details of the must-see moments of the past week.
Hello there and welcome to this edition of Sports Center on TSN. I'm your host for tonight, Kyle Arbo, and joined alongside by our hockey experts and community justice experts, Nathan Lappin and Cody Hallett. Tonight we're going to be showing a few videos and we're going to be going over some main questions that are important and that should be dealt with in this day and age, even with the lockout going on. So we're just going to show a brief video here on the first one. So we take a look here, fellas. This first video we have. As you can see, the anthem is going on. And the game hasn't even started. This is right after the anthem. So right from that video, we can see one of the main questions that our polls have reeled in over the past few weeks is, here it is. Why is fighting justified in hockey and not in any other professional sport? First, we'll start off with our criminal justice analysis and ambassador, Mr. Nathan Lappin.
Well, first I'd like to start off by saying that it might be a misconception to a lot of people that hockey fight only occurs in the NHL. This video is, I believe it was just a provincial hockey league. So fighting in hockey happens at all the levels, not just NHL. So I believe that the only reason fighting in hockey is justified is because where hockey dates back to in the 19th century, the reason they had the fighting implemented was for physical control and intimidation. Now, things have changed a lot because there was a lot of lack of rules in the beginning of the hockey game. Now, there's much more control, there's much more rules in the game of hockey, and fighting is just not something that should be in hockey anymore because the refs can handle what's on the ice because there's disciplinary actions to deal with anything that happens on the ice. So standing up and fighting shouldn't be allowed anymore.
That's a good take on the criminal justice side, and now we have our internal league affairs ambassador, Mr. Cody Hallett, giving his point on this situation.
Thanks, Kyle. Hockey is justified in a sense that it's almost part of the game. Ever since that it really begun, fighting is not something to do on the ice. When fighting occurs in any type of hockey, really, it's not just because spur of the moment. It's because something happened throughout the course of the game that an opposing player had to take, I guess, fighting as the consequence. And as they go through fighting, it's not just to fight, it's to stand up for their teams and for what happened to one of their teammates. And to a certain point, you have to stand up for your team. And I guess, unfortunately, it is fighting that they result to. But
So do you think it's more just an old age habit that is formulated back to when the game started? Because as Mr. Nathan said, the game is set today with a regulation of rules and conducts. And don't you think that maybe we might be able to resolve, a dispute in another fashion than fighting?
I think you could. There's hockey. I guess the violent acts in hockey is almost spur of the moment. So I guess fighting is one of the things that you can resolve something quickly and not drag through the course of the game. So I think that's why it occurs, and I don't know if we'll ever be able to stop it.
And also the hockey. There's a lot of publicity in hockey, NHL hockey games, OHL hockey games, and fans go there, little kids, and they see fights that happen, and then they go and they play their hockey league and they start fights. I mean, you're a professional athlete. You should be setting an example for the youth. And quite frankly, beating the snot out of someone, I don't think that's a very positive example to be setting, especially as a role model.
Very good intake from our two experts. We have another question here, and we're going to start it off by video. Everyone's seen this before, I think, and it's the Chris Simon slash. We'll take a look here.
Simon just smacked Holding with a stick.
And now gets his hands up. And Holloway still down
As you
on
can
the
see,
ice.
both teams not impressed at what happened.
I believe Holding hit Simon first.
Holwig is down on the
Simon
ice.
turned around and
He is out.
Holding a two-hander to the midsection. I mean, it looked like he was chopping a tree.
Let's just fast forward the video a bit here so we can see what really happened.
This could be 5 minutes.
So as you can see, Holwig got Simon with a good clean check here. Simon doesn't like what happened. Boom.
Oh boy. That, you know what? That wasn't in the midsection. That was up high.
Now that's a good hit. That to me looks like a clean hit by
He's
Holding
obviously not
on
impressed.
Simon.
Kicks him in the face.
Oh, that's a big
You know what? He's gonna
There's
get
been a
suspended
lot of
for that.
controversy
Look at that.
on this specific video and specific action by Chris Simon.
He got cut.
So our next question, to go along with that video, why is assaulting someone in hockey with a weapon necessarily, is it justified, gentlemen?
I'll let you go first on this one, Nate.
Well, I think there's a certain extent. I mean, you're giving professional athletes a stick to play hockey with, and it's not to be used as a weapon. They're used to control the puck, control the game, and to score goals. And that's how you win hockey games, to score goals and play good defense. That is just a terrible play. I mean, the stick's not there to be used as a weapon. And something like that, if I went downtown with a hockey stick and I hit someone in the head like that, I'd be arrested for assault with a weapon. I'd be tried, and I could go to jail for up to 10 years. Just because they're professional athletes playing a sport, that should not exclude them from the criminal code. I mean, that's not, the stick again is there only to be to score goals and pass the puck around. It's not there to be used as a weapon. So I think that's an absolutely ridiculous.
Again, what
play.
you're saying is it should be used as an instrument to play the game rather as a weapon that has been used so many times. Let's hear from our hockey analyst expert, Cody.
It is part of the game. I mean, things do happen. Unfortunately, sometimes sticks do get used as weapons. It's unfortunate that it happens, and like I said before, violence in hockey is almost like spur of the moment on how it develops and occurs throughout the game. And when you're holding a stick, sometimes that's the first thing that you go to, is the stick before you kind of think. I mean, if you did get run from behind, I guess maybe that's what Chris Simon felt like, is that he did get ran behind. Hallway came back. He probably said a few words, and I guess Chris Simon just took exception with the stick. I know, like, if your example, like Nate's, if you go downtown with a hockey stick, you'd be able to use your verbal skills and maybe sort it that way. On the ice, there's no really kind of calming the situation down verbally. It's almost more like you have to do before like you speak. It's
Almost something that you have to
streets.
use something physically before you use your words, because the game is fast, you know, so.
That's correct, yeah.
Well, again, you got to look into professional athlete. I mean, this guy's a professional athlete. He's getting paid millions of dollars to play this sport and to do a good job of that. And just stunts like that, hitting someone in the head with a stick and intentionally trying to hurt them, that should not be allowed in the game at all. And there should be much greater penalties rather than just a couple game suspension or a 20-game suspension. It should be much greater than that, because I mean that player's going to be out for a few weeks. And what example are you sending to the league? And that's all they got.
Very, very heavy questions and answers by our hockey analyst experts. We're going to look at another video here, cross-referencing different sports, looking at the NBA. This was a famous one from last season's Meta World Peace. Let's take a look. As you can see, Harden's down here, down for the count. Everyone's trying to figure out what exactly happened. Meta World Peace, formerly known as Ron Artest. Known as a feisty player, but not for things like this. I think they're going to show the replay here in a second. Recording crew in the back.
Absolutely level.
As you can see, Meta World Peace is trying to explain to the referees that it was just a game celebration. Let's take a look here. A good play by Meta. He's obviously very amped up, but oh my.
That's disgraceful. That's not only ejection, that's going to be a suspension. It should be.
Oh my.
Disgrace.
As you can see, as the commentators said in that video, he immediately got ejected from that game, and he got a suspension, a pretty hefty one, that cost his team, the Lakers, to miss several playoff games without him being there. And then when we look to the game of hockey, what we're focusing on on today is this year, from last year's playoffs. We all remember this. Daniel Sedin going down from Duncan Keith.
What's the sense of this? If you're worried about getting beat, I'm not advocating taking
Right there. Right in there. Gets him with a good elbow to the head. Daniel Sedin's out. He's done for the playoffs. Potentially that cost the Canucks a very hefty piece in their puzzle. So I guess the question is, how does hockey violence differentiate from other sports, as in the severity? Why would you only get a suspension and an immediate ejection in the NBA, for instance, but in the NHL, maybe only a 2-minute minor? Mr. Lappin, your take on it?
I'll let Cody take this one first, actually.
Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, so graphic scenes in both sports there. I guess I'd like to say that there is violence in every sport. Discussing about hockey, it does differ in every sport, but the fighting and violent acts that occur in hockey, it separates from different sports because it's just such a faster-paced game, and there's not so much control over who's going to do what. For example, in basketball, the scene there, no one really went after Meta World Peace, as to oppose of that hockey game there when Duncan Keith raised the elbow on Daniel Sedin. Kevin Bieksa came in and started taking out Duncan Keith, and I guess that's just the nature of the game. People go after each other. Opposed to other sports, they almost let the refs deal with it. And I think in hockey, there's I guess you could say a philosophy of the refs not doing much about the situation, and that's why the players in NHL have to almost take it upon themselves to deal with the consequences.
So again, that's a good take on why the players may feel that they need to do this. Mr. Lappin.
You know what? I think one of the big things is it comes down to discretion. Now, if you look in the rule books of hockey versus other sports such as football, rugby, soccer, or the NBA, basketball, you see in hockey there are many rules around hitting and contact, such as if you elbow someone in the head, you get 10-minute misconduct, a 2-minute penalty, or you get suspension after the fact. In the NBA, in football, and any other sport, it's clear and cut, defined. It's if you fight someone, you're getting ejected from the game, and there's going to be suspensions to follow. If you elbow someone, you're going to be ejected, and there's going to be consequences to follow. Now, there's so many rules around hockey. It's really up to the ref's discretion. So if you took out a lot of the ifs and ands and buts in hockey, I think that would control the violence, and the refs wouldn't have as much as a say in it. So in that instance, the player didn't even have the puck, and he got an elbow in the head, and I mean, all he got was a 2-minute penalty. Also, how hockey differs from other sports is, for instance, take football, and the nature of football is on defense, you're stopping the players who has the ball, you're physically tackling him so he doesn't cross that line of scrimmage to get more yards and keep the game going. In hockey, how you play defense is you steal the puck, and automatically you're back on offense. So it's not as hard to steal the puck and be back on offense as it is to steal the football and be on offense. Now that being said, in football there's no dirty, cheap hits like there's in hockey at all. And in hockey, there's hits from behind, there's hits to the heads, there's slashes to the heads. There's all types of different and dirty violence in hockey that doesn't need to be there. There's no place in the game for that. Football, there's none of that because it's naturally a contact sport, and there's respect for players out there. In hockey, I feel like there's a lack of respect. If someone's vulnerable and they get hit from behind, I mean, that's just a lack of respect for the other player. So I feel like hockey's up on a pedestal as a violent sport, but everyone's turning a blind eye to the actual violence that's happening in hockey.
Anything else to say to that question, Mr. Cody?
I guess I'm done with this one.
Okay. So we're going to take a look at this one. This one was a very popular question that we had come in through our polls. Again, this kind of relates to the last one, but do you feel like the consequences in hockey are justified, as in the suspensions, the fines, etc.? 5 games for a very dangerous hit. Let's take a look.
I'm Brendan Shanahan, the National Hockey League Senior Vice President of Player Safety. Wednesday night in Philadelphia, an incident occurred during a game between the Flyers and the Toronto Maple Leafs. At 12:34 of the second period, Philadelphia forward Jody Shelley delivered an illegal hit to Toronto forward Daryl Boyce. The video clearly shows that Boyce has his back to Shelley well before the contact. Boyce does not put himself in this position immediately prior to or simultaneously with the check. Shelley has time to avoid the check completely or at the very least minimize the contact. This is a clear violation of the boarding rule, which states the onus is on the player applying the check to ensure his opponent is not in a defenseless position, and if so, he must avoid or minimize contact. I've also taken into consideration that Boyce was injured on the play. The fact that Jody Shelley was suspended twice last season also weighed heavily on my decision. For these reasons, I'm suspending Jody Shelley for the remainder of the preseason and 5 regular season games.
So again, looking at that video, for instance, 5 games for a potentially very dangerous hit. He went down, he's out, he potentially misses games, concussion, 5 games. What's your take on it?
No, I think 5 games isn't. It could be more severe. It could go either way. It's all about. No?
It still needs to stop here.
Okay.
Only because of my time commitment.
Sure.
Come on down here for a second. How much more do you got in your presentation?
1 question.
Okay, well, come on down here.
Okay.